Hi, I'm Adam Jennings, and this is Awaiting Approval, a podcast about the messy human side of creative leadership. Today, I'm joined by Chris Nguyen, founder of UX Playbook, for a relaxed, two-way conversation about his journey, the lessons he's learned, and what it takes to lead with creativity and honesty. Chris, hi, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into this. We've been connected on LinkedIn for such a long time, and so it's great to finally meet you in person for the first time. But also to hear more about your story and your journey. And to that end, to help people to sort of get to know you a little bit better, if we were meeting in person today, where would you suggest we meet and what would you order to drink?
Ooh, I like that. I've been really into pickleball recently, so I would meet you at a pickleball court, and we'll probably be drinking either some form of electrolytes or H2O.
Brilliant. Well, I'll raise a metaphorical electrolyte embedded water to cheer you on for the rest of this recording. And in a similar vein, again, just for people to kind of get to know a bit more about you, is there something on your desk or nearby that tells a bit about you or maybe your working practice?
Ooh, I'm trying to look for something on my desk that's mildly interesting. Um, I have a lot of lights and a lot of cameras at the moment. So if that tells anything, it would be that I record a lot and I make a lot of content and I love sort of camera gear. I'm a designer that's sort of transitioned from that to be like an educator, and a lot of the stuff is like pre-recorded. So yeah, I am fascinated with um, yeah, camera gear or setup gear, that kind of stuff.
Mm. And do you like that? Do you have that kind of unboxing excitement when there's a new piece of kit? Like you can't, isn't you're waiting for it to arrive and then it's not there fast enough? And
Absolutely, absolutely. I always have like kid excitement inside me when it's like, okay, I've shopped around for a bunch of time and to figure out which one's the perfect one, and then once it does arrive, even awaiting arrival, it is very exciting for me. Yeah,
brilliant. And are you like open the box and throw the manual away and just get stuck in, or are you like manual
Absolutely.
first? Yeah,
No
okay, good.
manual, no manual.
Excellent. I think that's the way to be. The manual is there just in case you can't figure it out, right?
Exactly. I mean, if it was like IKEA furniture, definitely a manual. But for
Right.
other plug the USB-C in, you're pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel that sort of extends now. That approach extends now into most digital product as well. There's far less onboarding. I mean, certainly like in a detailed onboarding, and it's much more just play. You can't break this. Just play and figure out the hidden features almost.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, right? There are definitely some products out there that wants to train some sort of behavior,
Mm.
or it's like email done in a different way, or a to-do list done in a different way. But most of the products out there, if it's not like hyper opinionated, are pretty simple to pick up and use. I mean, even popular apps like Instagram, over a billion users, they don't really have a super robust onboarding, and you actually discover that you can swipe left and right to different screens and stuff like that. So I think that's quite natural now that people kind of get software to a certain extent.
Mm. Yeah, I think what's really interesting is seeing different ages using mobile devices and how younger people, even toddlers are just, yeah, they get it. They don't have any fear of breaking something. Whereas if you go to, say, my parents' generation, they hardly even want to pick the device up, let alone try moving it around. And I think that's fascinating that, as generation after generation grows up with these new devices, it's just embedded almost. I don't think it's just that the design is so
Intuitive.
intuitive. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think it's also that we're uh, on a sort of physical human level. We're just growing up, generation after generation, understanding that there are these ways of interacting with things, which will be interesting to see where it goes when we move away from a physical device into either glasses or an embed chip or whatever it might be. Like, where does Where does the interface go? Does it become gesture based? Does it become voice based? Like it'd be interesting to see. But that's all future facing stuff. Let's kind of flip it around the other way. Take us right back to the beginning of your career and give us a kind of bullet point history from there to where you are now. You don't have to hit every point, but the kind of key milestones.
Yeah. So I was a business graduate. Well, I studied computer science first, dropped out, or got kicked out rather, and then worked for a year, decided that the restaurant life was not for me. So went back to uni, got my business degree, and then decided to take a 6-month break after not finding a career job, like a job I really wanted. And I moved to Southeast Asia, Vietnam, where my parents are from. And 4 months into the journey, I basically ran out of money and they say, hey, why don't you just go get a job? So I did, and it was at a tech company. Like, I have never worked at a tech company, don't know what they do, never even heard about design, but I loved that environment of like super smart people wearing flip flops and just hanging out right on beanbags. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but this is the environment I want to be in. Then I sort of got introduced into design in that company, working in sort of digital marketing, where I did a lot of design work. And I actually got fired from that company because I just wasn't giving it my best. And I sometimes would turn up late and all this stuff. But that also uh, gave me, I guess, the balls to say, okay, well, now I know I like design. Can I do that freelance, or can I do digital marketing plus design freelance? So I did that for a while, uh, got a job somewhere, but still was kind of getting my hands dirty in the design. Um, Back then, I got hired for my first product design role in 2015. Uh, that took me to Seattle for a few months, working with CEO and the CPO, both veterans in the startup world. So got to learn from them a lot. Then I moved from that role, which was primarily based in Vietnam, but headquarters was in Seattle. I moved actually to Mexico for another gig. And very mature UX team there. We grew it from about 12 designers to about 45. And then after a few years, I was stupid enough to think, it was the best environment, the best people I've ever worked with. But I was stupid enough to be like, I think I can take on the challenge to run my own UX team. So I accepted a job in Thailand. So I moved to Thailand, and I was managing a team of 20 designers in 4 different regions. Our product was the market leader, and had in Thailand alone had 6 million users uh, every month, MAU. And then I basically found out that my dream job was not my dream job, and I quit with no backup plan. This is in 2020, and I just kind of explored stuff. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna hang out for a minute. Picked up a camera, always wanted to make videos. Made some videos. Came back to Vietnam a year later, not having any plans, and just kind of like exploring stuff, worked with a few mates on a couple of startups. We raised some money. Eventually it failed. And then in 2022, I started writing content because I saw UX Playbook growing organically on its own while I was exploring. I was like launching stuff, just like playing around on the internet. And 2022 till now, I've basically focused 100% on UX Playbook since 2023, where everything and all the projects that I did failed, and nothing came of it apart from learnings. And so, yeah, we've been 100% on UX Playbook ever since then. And UX Playbook is educational content for designers through playbooks, courses, and coaching. So from portfolio to all the way to design leadership and everything in between, we sort of cover the whole spectrum. So imagine it being a career guide of sorts for product designers, UX designers.
What a story of resilience. There were so many. There's like a constant theme of striving. Like I want to see what the next thing is. I want to explore what the next possibility is. Didn't work out. Okay, fine. I'll move to the next thing. I love the positivity in that. So let's say someone listening to this or watching this is facing maybe their first or second time of something not quite working out as they'd hoped. What would your words of encouragement be for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to give something a shot, right? I wouldn't encourage folks to, stay a couple of months and then just call it quits, right? You have to give it a shot. You have to give it a real shot. And, you can only do your best. But if you know it's not for you and if it's sucking the energy out of, waking up in the morning or turning up to work or doing work that you're proud of, then I think it's completely fair to just be like, okay, what's the next move, right? And I think I've been in that situation many, many times in my life. And I'm one of those people that when I get complacent, uh, I start to wander elsewhere, whether it's a new hobby, whether it's picking up something else to do outside. So the signals are there, and then, over time, you just need to realize that quicker. So I think I've done that well, in my life, just being aware of like, okay, if I'm getting complacent at work or in career, then I'm basically finding other distractions. But really, I'm not focusing on the thing that actually is the root cause of all this other, veering. Um, yeah, and it's okay to quit. It's okay to explore for the folks that are facing this kind of thing. And I think the big point that I see a lot of folks doing is like they've been in this career for a while, or they've been told that there's a certain path, right? Like junior, mid, senior, lead. But really, like those are the constructs of the people that have been there before, or constructs of society or how things are done, but realize that um, life really doesn't have any rules, especially for a career, even though you might have been taught that your whole life. And it's a really weird thing to kind of like push back on because you've been taught a certain way in school or college or university, but really it is your own, and you don't really want to wake up and say, "Oh, I've just lived, 20 years in a career of someone else's life," right? Like it's not the one that I want. So, and that's why right now, even though I'm doing my own thing, I also think I'm also trying to explore other things as well because you just don't know, like there's so many unknown unknowns until you kind of like turn that pebble over. Maybe there's something that is more exciting as you grow, right? People change. So I think that's one of the major things, that if you can think of your career like an arc of life, like different seasons, chapters, different things you're interested in, I think that will just alleviate a lot of stress for the people like trying to find quote unquote their passion. And if they are not great at it, then they sort of give up and just like mundane live through life. So yeah.
Wow, there's so much to unpack in there. The first thing that struck me is that for me right now, this year, it's a lot of work about presence, building presence, as in internal presence, not online presence, as in finding that balance, finding that peace of mind in the moment. And I
Mm,
think one of the things that has been really interesting to me when I first started that work is, I have to be this sort of Zen, silent, legs crossed, pose with no distractions. But actually, what I'm realizing is it's more about listening to yourself. And so, as I hear you talking about looking out for those signals that, okay, maybe it's time now to look to the next thing, it's a wonderful way of combining presence in terms of understanding what's going on inside you, but still having that zest for life, still having that energy and that passion to drive forward and find a new thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I'd love to understand more about how, when you think about those signals, like how do they show up for you? How do you notice them? Do you intentionally sit down every so often to think, okay, how am I feeling? Or is it that they crop up in every day?
yeah, the signals come up. The signals come up. So um it like there's just some things that give you more energy and some things that kind of drain energy. And if you find yourself doing a lot of things that drain your energy, and there's too many days in a row that things just aren't, energy inducing, and you're not maybe interactions with the people that you feel more connected to, then I have no I have no control over things that I will just get distracted, or I just won't do the thing that that I was meant to do. And I think maybe that's just my personality, where if there's something that I don't like to do, more than not, I just don't, I just don't do it. Right. And of course, like, there's things you need to do, like chores, you don't like it, but you still do it. But I'm talking about like work, like especially creative work and knowledge work. So there are some of those things. And for me, yeah, the signals are like, if career is kind of stagnant, or I feel like it's not super interesting, I will then find interesting things outside of career. For example, like picking up a new hobby or going and socializing more. So I've noticed that. But and then again, like, the hobby or the socializing can get boring depending on what type of mastery you want with the hobby. So now for me, it's like pickleball. So maybe that's a sign. But yeah, it's there isn't a great answer for this. It again, it's about pattern recognition in like how you are and what you do. Uh, Reflection, yes. There is you know, I have a weekly meeting with my team, and we do say things like, what are wins? What are fuck ups? What do we need to do better? But I think that's a healthy habit if you can do it with yourself. It doesn't need to be a weekly thing. I also have a retrospective of one of my best friends, and we frame it as a retrospective monthly because we want to talk about the things that happened last month and what we did. And, it gets personal, but also it's uh, sometimes more work focused. So there are these tactics out there, but I think for many folks, if they have a practice of journaling, it's super easy to kind of pick up on those signals. But for me, it's just like, am I being distracted because of something that's like deep rooted in the thing I'm doing now? And I'm just going back to that question over and over again. Helps me. Yeah.
Mhm. I love that. I love your honesty around if there's something I don't want to do, I don't do it.
Yeah.
It's why? Why would we? We're only here for a finite amount of time. And that kind of leads into the other thing that maybe sort of sit up near cat style in the answer before, which was this idea of a traditional path, a junior to mid to senior to lead to blah blah blah. Yes, that works. Yes, there's a structure that's in place that's been in place for a million years, and people are leave college or enter the industry thinking, okay, yes, I want to get to CD or I want to get to whatever the level is, and these are the steps that I have to take, and therefore I have to choose. I have to choose agency or client side, and I have to choose blah 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 blah. And I think it's really refreshing to hear you, clearly a successful practitioner and now educator, saying, no, sod that. You can create your own path. You can do it your own way. And similar path for me. I didn't have any formal training in design at all. I actually trained in theatre works and acting for years and years before coming into this. And I just sort of fell into design, ended up 30 years later having worked in every creative discipline and worked with these massive companies. So it is possible, and I really appreciate you saying that and being an example of that. I think that would be really useful to hear. The only sort of temperance I guess I would add to that is, like, that's org specific, right? Like, there will be some orgs that will be flexible with that, and there'll be some orgs that will just not. And so you need to work out where do you sit on that spectrum of flexibility? Like, are you saying, okay, I'll go to this place that's not flexible for a year. I'll do a year or 18 months there, get lots of learnings under my belt, and then move to somewhere a bit more flexible. I think that's a sort of an addition that I would say. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think for my personality, I didn't know this. And I was lucky that I fell into that tech company, which was like, a fast growing startup. And I think that's why I fell in love with tech, because it's like that was the first job and I was like, oh, this is what it is. And then when I moved to different companies, they were startups as well. So it's like, okay, great. Maybe a bit more like, from like Series A to Series B to Series C. So it's like you're still fairly early stage. You're not super late stage. But the head of design gig that I got was actually a it was a conglomerate that's over 100 years old, but and then one of the sister companies that I was working at was playing the startup role, was pretending to be a startup. So it had all these like enterprise, like inherited enterprise sort of values and working pace and stuff, and that's why I didn't fit in, right?
Mm.
So I think that's true where you have to experiment, especially when you're in your early career. That like you should try different org sizes, cultures, ways of working, and really figure out what is it that you thrive in and what is it you like. Because for me, the wearing multiple hats is just more fun, more varied, and I think maybe a lot of creative people are like that, but I'm sure there are some creative people that are like so fascinated with like deep, deep mastery where you just want to do one thing but do it really well, versus like I'm more of a jack of all trades and I like the pace of like imperfection, if you will. And so, but yeah, it's definitely one of those experiments where it's like you got to find where you fit in, and but before that, explore as much as you can.
Mm. I think that wide-ranging sort of base of experience is so useful
Mhm.
to help you, not just to help you understand where you want to go, where your path is, but also helps you with the work as well. It helps you with the actual craft because you have more experience to draw on to then produce whatever it is that you're creating. But it also helps you with people. So when you get to a point of leadership, you've experienced conversations with multiple types of personalities, and you're much better equipped to then deal with that from a leadership position. Hi. If what we're talking about in this episode is resonating with you, the challenges faced are the ones that are in front of you right now, the path they've taken is your dream career path, whatever it may be, stick around until the end of this episode to find out how you can work directly with me to level up your leadership skills. Get 30 years worth of experience downloaded into your skill set in just 4 weeks. At the same time, meet amazing other design leaders as part of your cohort. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the end. Um, when you think about all of the places that you took us through on that bullet point journey, is there a place that you would go back to yourself then, but knowing what you know now? And if there is, what would you say to yourself?
Yeah, so when I was in Mexico and I was working with, the like my favorite or probably the job that I liked the most, but also I grew the most just before the head of design gig, I probably would have told myself to be more patient. You can add value here. You don't necessarily need to jump. Be more patient there, and figure out how you can make it successful. I I think I blamed the company to a certain extent of not giving me the opportunities, whereas uh, that company is a type like the way why I loved it was because that company gave you the autonomy of choosing your opportunities. And that's why I loved it at first, but I just kind of lost sight of that because multiple people left, my boss left, and all this stuff. So, but I think I could have made more of it or give it more of a chance. So, and I think that's also what I'm taking into what I'm doing now at UX Playbook, where it's like you have to wait for the compounding magic to happen, right? Things don't happen overnight. So you have to put in that effort daily or weekly or monthly to see the magic, but be patient enough to wait, right? The 6 months, the 12 months, because I think I was a bit late into like getting into my career job. I was 27 years old when I got into design, so I always felt like I was playing catch up. That's
Mm.
why I was like very like obsessed and moving at a faster pace, or I felt like I was. But what I've learned is no, you just have to wait for it to work because it will work eventually. And I'll probably say that to myself.
Mm. I love that. And it feels like what you're saying there, combined with, how you've already been talking about it, it feels like a wonderful real world example of sort of true manifestation. Like you have this drive, this exploration, this passion and energy, and you know roughly what the goal looks like, but you're also putting in the action. It's not just about saying, okay, universe, give me the thing, and then sat there, arms crossed, waiting for it to happen. You've got to actually put the stuff in. And so I think that idea of going back to yourself and saying just hold on that just that little bit longer, I think is really sound advice. And I mean, obviously the caveats of like your other answer, if you can feel in your gut it's not the right place, then maybe don't hold on for a little bit, find the next place and then hold on. But I think there's a huge truth to that. When you think of everything you've produced, all the projects, all the work, all the companies, the teams, is there a piece of work that you're most proud of?
There isn't one piece of work I'm most proud of. I mean, the easy answer, if I was to just give the easy one, would be UX Playbook. But actually, I'm most proud of the ability to go 0 to 1. I think refining the ability to go 0 to 1 for me is like super energizing, super motivating, and taking something from like so fuzzy to actually being alive and online or someone can touch, feel, and experience, that is probably the thing I'm most proud of. And as an entrepreneur, that's what we do, right? Like we take things from nothing to something, and that's really good. But it's a double edged sword as well because you get distracted by new things and you want to launch every single idea, but some ideas are better than others, and we always underestimate how hard the problem is to tackle, right? So I'm saying to myself again, taking my own advice, being more patient with the UX playbook and not launch, four other businesses just because it's fun. But for me, yeah, it's the ability to do that because I think I see folks around me. Uh, I see a lot of people actually struggling to have the motivation or the ability to take an idea from 0 to 1. They might be very good at taking it from like 1 to 10 or working on that when it's like 1 plus. But I think that is one of my special powers, and that's why I'm very proud of that. And that's also what I uh, do with like coaching designers because they have this idea, they have all the fears, uh, insecurities or whatever have you. They might even know how to do it, they just haven't done it, right? So I
Mm,
think my role as an educator is to encourage folks to go from 0 to 1, not even to
mm,
teach, not even to show, is literally just to encourage because they probably have everything. We have YouTube, we have LinkedIn, we have Wikipedia. Like, there's so many things out there that you can just Google on how to do it. But the fact is, the encouragement is the thing that's lacking, I think, from most people, and
mm,
just the belief they can do it, right? So for me, I think the proudest thing or the proudest skill that I've developed over the years is 0 to 1.
mm. I I hear you, and I love a fellow 0 to 1. First of all, um, and I get it, and I've always found the for my own projects, I want to launch something, I want to make something. It feels like a truest form of creation to get something live and out there. Might be my ADHD brain, might just be my makeup. I don't know, but like that's the bit that really excites me. And so what I've learned is to then, once I've got something that has legs, to then partner with someone who does that next bit and hand that off and say, with my blessing, please take this and make it grow. So I love that 0 to 1 kind of attitude. And there was another piece in there that you talked about that I think is so, so important, and that's the encouragement aspect. You know, um, we as creatives, especially in the UK, especially within, I think it's very prevalent in the UK in terms of the advertising industry. But I think I've seen it in other disciplines as well. There is almost a sort of playground, and I'm painting with a very broad stroke here. This is not everyone, but it's very prevalent that there's this kind of playground um, attitude towards finding the work cool or finding a client cool or
Mm.
being excited genuinely about something. You're not meant to. You're not meant to say to your colleagues, you know what? Like, I'm actually really loving this piece of work we're doing for a SaaS company or whatever it might be, right? Like, it's perfectly okay to say, like, this music brand or this film brand or whatever. But no, you mustn't get excited about doing a campaign for Excel or something. Do you know what I mean? And actually, when you then start working with other people from around the world who have a genuine um, lack of cynicism, like that kind of British cynicism. If they don't have that, it makes it makes the work um, so much more fun, and therefore I think you produce better work. And
Yeah.
so that encouragement piece, to come back to that, especially I think for those in the UK, although I know this podcast is listened all over the world, but maybe it's similar in other markets as well. But to have someone who encourages you and knows what your day to day is. It's one thing to have your mum or your dad or your partner or what have you say, you know what, I really love this. I'm really proud of you. You're doing really well. That means a hell of a lot because of your relationship to them. But when a peer says, that's really good. I really love that. That's awesome work. There's a knowledge, there's a day-to-day understanding that it just adds weight to that encouragement. And so I think the people to go out and seek coaches or mentors or even just talk to peers, uh, within the org, I think is a really, really important piece. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's really important. I think that's something that I'm still learning because obviously everybody's different and everybody's makeup is different. So really, like, how do you encourage different types of people in your life, right? That's really what leadership is about, where like understanding that person deeply, what motivates them, what's a good incentive, what's intrinsic, and then saying the right words so they do the thing that's good for them that they wanted to do, which is, I think a journey in itself. Like, I don't think we'll ever truly master it, but we can always get better at it, right? And it probably goes to the deeper level of like, how well do you understand this person? What makes them tick, what makes them happy, like everything about this person. Therefore, once you established that sort of baseline, then you can start to be like, okay, well, this person reacts well to this type of feedback. So let me just give them more so they do more of that type of stuff. But it's a really interesting and also hard to master skill, how to motivate, encourage, and and yeah, and just basically bring that best person out in terms of the work they produce. Yeah.
For sure. In my leadership course, I focus on a human to human framework,
Mm,
recognizing that no matter who you're talking to, whether they report to you, whether you report to them, whether they're a client, the client's management, whatever it might be, or leadership rather, everyone's human. So they all have the same or similar goals, hopes, dreams. They all have bad, shitty days where they're going to be a bit more grumpy, a bit shorter. Their emails are going to be a bit snappier. And just understanding that that's the case then unlocks the ability to say, okay, so they're usually a bit more jokey and they're a bit quieter today. So, in the way that is relevant to the relationship you have with them, can you reach out to them, ask them, hey, is everything all right? What would
mhm,
you want someone to do in that situation? Would you want them to leave you alone? Would you want them to just check in? And then you're absolutely right. As you start to work with people, getting to know, okay, this person is a visual thinker, so feedback or direction needs to be scamps or mock-ups or rough notes. This person's
mm,
more of a verbal or an audio interpreter. So voice notes or talking through with them or what have you, um, is such a it's such a powerful skill for leaders to have. But I think for me, I really firmly believe it all starts with just seeing the other person as a human and
Mhm.
finding that human connection. It's not to manipulate that. It's not in a performance way. It's finding a genuine connection with someone. And one of the things that I say when I'm doing the course is look for that connection, look for that piece. You'll find it. I remember one client, I was told by my leadership, don't don't bother trying to do your usual thing of building a good relationship. Like there's nothing there, just forget it. And the first call I had with this person, they had a schematic of a Star Wars spaceship on their wall, but it looked like a piece of art. It didn't look like it was. I love Star Wars, and I spotted it. I knew exactly what it was, and so I started chatting with them about it, and we built a connection, and the relationship grew from there. It's just about finding those connections. But one thing I will say is, if you can't find the connection, don't worry about it. Finish the project and move on. Like you don't have to be best mates with everybody. But I think you're absolutely right. The encouragement piece comes from understanding who that other person is and how they need that encouragement.
Right.
Um, which probably ultimately comes back to understanding how you need to give yourself encouragement first and foremost. So you understand the words, you understand how they feel when you hear them, and then you can impart those back. Um, when you when you think of everything that you've done, is there a point, a decision, a choice, a project that didn't go according to plan? And what did you learn from that?
I mean, I've had so many failed projects, so it's hard to just clamp down on one. But I'll tell you, basically, I spent, I would say, like, maybe 2 years, let's just say 3 years, from 2020 to 2023, basically exploring and doing projects. So, again, we created products, we created an agency, we built a SaaS tool, we built a Web3 tool. We'd done a lot of things. And I think and that's actually during the time that the birth of UX Playbook. But within that time, I found myself uh, like obviously these projects failed, but I think one of the major mistakes I made is the projects seemed cool, the people seemed cool, but I was not passionate about the people and the problem that I was solving. And that made a huge difference for me. So, for example, the first project I worked on was another education product, but it was helping Scrum Masters get certified. Okay. Then there was, creating a YouTube agency helping creators grow their YouTube channels. Then there was a Notion tool. And then there was just a bunch of things. But fundamentally, I didn't feel a connection to the problem, even though it was identified. We understood, that it was viable. Um, and yeah, I felt like I didn't know the people behind the problems. And I think that's one reason why my heart wasn't in it. And I think the reason why my heart is in UX Playbook is because that was my life for the last decade. I feel like designers are my people. Those are the tribe members that I want to solve problems for. So the reason why I think a lot of things don't start and they fizzle out and they die or whatever happens, it's because I was not connected and I didn't deeply care enough about, let's just say, the quote unquote user and the problems that they faced. So that was a major learning for me. And I think now when I pick projects or even when I think about even considering it, it's just, do I care about the people? Like, I have to be really, really honest because again, building anything is really hard and you can't be half-arsing it because it just won't work and you'll eventually get bored. So you really have to deeply care about that.
Mhm. Outside of work, what's the thing you're most proud of?
Outside of work, I don't speak about this much, but I retired my parents when I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. I'm really proud of that, because they were refugees coming to England. They basically started their own business when I was very young, and 16-hour days in a restaurant for 30 plus years. And when I and my sister could retire them, it was a no brainer for us. And it's just like, they can do whatever they want now. They can hang out. They can play pickleball. They can go see some friends. Go eat or whatever. So I think that was one thing that I don't speak about a lot, but I'm really proud of that. That they don't have to, you know, be 60, 70 years old and still go to work and still kind of like live in the rat race. So that's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What a wonderful gift for you to give them back. That's
Hmm.
really lovely. I love that. When you think of everything that's going on in the industries right now, actually in the world, right? We've got financial crisis globally. We've got wars everywhere. We've got dictators in places that shouldn't be in places. We've also got rapid increase in tech and AI, and it's having a negative impact in every industry, but especially in the creative industries. If you were to think of two groups of people, those just coming into the industry and those that have been in the industry for a while but have been out of work for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to both of those people about how to deal with everything that's going on right now?
I mean, the one that comes to mind is just control what you can control. So, what can you control? You can control the things you make. You can
Mm,
control the news you listen to. You can control where your energy is getting invested. You can control skills that you're learning to sort of upskill or go horizontally. But really, I think if we're talking about creatives and we're talking to creatives, it's like do what you're born to do and just make a lot of things, because it has not ever been easier to make things and for people to buy them, right? To get paid to do creative work. There's never been a time that's easier, right? And of course, it comes with a lot of other stuff like marketing, sales, like all that stuff. But let's just put that aside. If you do good work, and if you could consistently do good work over a long period of time, you're going to make it, right? There's something that's us creative, that we have a insatiable appetite to just make things that we enjoy, and hopefully eventually others will enjoy as well. So for like early career is great because you don't know what you don't know, so therefore you need to try a lot of things. So that's like the playground mentality that you mentioned earlier, where it's like, oh, everything could be awesome and great because you just don't have this like industry baggage on you, right? It's not weighty. So I would say, hey, don't rush into anything. Yeah, don't commit to a 5-year contract. I don't even know if they have those anymore, but just explore, make things, work with different types of people, different types of organization. And then for the folks who have been there and done that, but they struggle to find work, well, work is not the only answer. When I say work, what I mean is a job, right? Having a job is not the only answer. And I was lied to by the whole world and society that a 9 to 5 is the only way you can make it in life. And it really isn't. When I started my career in Vietnam, I was in a tech company and there was like PhDs working on algorithms to help people like track their fitness through like a device like this, like a ring. But they had side hustles. And I'm like, what? They had like 2 or 3 jobs. And I'm like, why would you do that? Right. You're like on every metric, you're pretty successful, but it's just so interesting that certain societies kind of reward or incentivize like you doing more things, right? Not just sticking to one thing. So for those folks, I think again, it's like is easier to make anything, to put yourself out there. to cold DM someone, to market yourself, whatever it is, and don't just do years of interviewing. Like, start investing in yourself and your own skills, and how you show up based on what you do. And I think, if those folks can kind of change that mentality of like just being addicted to that monthly salary, I think it'll be better for them. They'll have more resilient financial, or economical kind of path, because you're doing a bunch of different things. And and maybe because you're putting yourself out there, you also get more opportunities, right? And I think like the whole job search process is kind of broken anyway, and there needs to be a big fix, especially for creatives. um yeah, but bottom line, yeah, make more things, put yourself out there, explore more, and opportunities and your surface area of luck would increase, and you then, things start to happen, right? Momentum begets momentum. Whereas like job search is, it's just hard and depressing anyway, right?
Mm. I love the idea of, like you're saying, just make stuff, just get back on the horse and make stuff, even if it's not to make money, just to kickstart everything. There are a lot of people, I'm sure you'll have seen the conversations going on online as well, a lot of creatives who are really getting dragged down by being out of work for so long and taking it on personally, and there are so many people saying, recruiters and other leaders saying, it is not you, it is the system and the industry and the world right now. But what would be your word? We talked about encouragement and support. Like, what would be your words to those people who are facing that fog of, oh, I'm never gonna get back on the horse again. It's never gonna work again.
It's hard because, yeah, a lot of industries are getting disrupted, especially with where the world's going and technology. But I would argue that, if it isn't getting disrupted, us as a human race, we're not getting better, right? We're not getting. It also opens up a new lens of how things are made and how things could create. So I think the ones that are getting really bogged down, they're probably too emotionally attached to some sort of system, uh, or emotionally attached to like the toxic work environment, where it's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that type of work again," because an example or a story is like, my sister has worked in the fashion industry for 12 years before she quit, because she was like, it's toxic. I've done, 5 jobs and they're all bad. And that's completely fine, right? But that doesn't mean her skills are no longer relevant to other industries. Okay. And I think, and that's just her experience, not saying the fashion industry is all toxic, but you might have had just bad luck with the 2 or 3 roles that you've had in the creative field, and you're like, it's all like this. Uh, and It doesn't have to be, right? You can always move adjacent. Um, yeah, I mean, if they're bogged down, again, it's like, can you find the play in the work you do? I think that's really, really important. It's like, well, you did it for a reason, that to begin with. And most creatives don't get into this industry for money, right? We do it because it's like fun for us. There's some element of being a kid and playing and creating, right? It's like playing with Lego or Play-Doh or whatever it is, painting, drawing. It just feels really good. So it's like, can you find that again in the work? And to your point, Adam, where it's like, yeah, it's like not necessarily to make money, but can you rinse and repeat the thing that you did that you thought you were good at, right? And maybe you are still good at it, and maybe it feels good to just do that act. And again, I think it's really easy to get distracted by the sort of the wave of AI news and the wave of layoff news, and be like, "Oh, I'm next." And like, if it happens, it happens. Like, you cannot control it. What you can control is what you're doing today at this moment versus what's in the future, right? Of course, if you are scared about the markets crashing, you can always sell your stocks, right? Nobody says you have to hold on, but I think the most resilient creatives, and I'll just add just one last thing, the most resilient creatives that I know and read about and see online a lot, they do a bunch of things. They're not just creative in one thing. They they get their hands dirty in a number of spaces, and that's really cool. And that's why I love serving designers, because they are multifaceted, right? They're like, okay, I'm gonna maybe pick up woodworking, maybe I'll make some music, maybe I'll do some graphic design, maybe I'm branding this like salon, maybe I'm launching a SaaS. Like there's so many things that you could apply how you think and the skills that you've sort of picked up along the way to lots of different fields. And I believe that every field in this world will need some of that expertise. And it's just kind of like, again, finding and experimenting like what fits with you. But first and foremost, find the play.
Mm, I love that. We're coming close to the end of our time, but I've got two more questions left. So,
Sure.
an ultimate question: what is it that you would love for people to take away from listening to this episode?
I think a sense of optimism that you can just do things. I mean, as cliche and as cheesy as it might sound, but it's actually true. The only barrier to you not doing the thing that you wanted to do is just yourself. It's not these excuses that you bring out. I don't have time. I don't have this. It's a question of priorities, and also a question of like this negative self-talk that we've all been trained. Maybe it's biology, maybe it's how we grew up, maybe it's our parents. uh, it can be silenced, or at least made quieter, by you just being active and doing the thing that you wanted to do. Because once you're in the thing, it no longer feels like you can't do it, right? Like when you're, working on a project, it's like it might look crazy in terms of scope and ambition and timeline, but once you're in the flow state, it doesn't, you don't notice that hardship. You're just in it, right? So I think that is something that, I'm saying this out loud because I'm also reminding myself of like, yes, we can just do things, and we should just skip the thinking, start the doing, and then you can think and do at the same time, or but do first, think later.
I love that. I really love that. And I shall go through the rest of my day today within reason, thinking first and doing doing first and thinking later.
Yeah.
Um, we've come to the end, so it's time for the last question. It's the same final question that every guest gets asked. Are you, Chris, still awaiting approval?
From myself, yes, but I'm getting that much closer.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you.
This is your opportunity. How can people get in touch with you? What events have you got, or products have you got coming up that you want to promote?
Sure. For me, uxplaybook.org. If you want to find my content on the interwebs, you can search UX Chris Nguyen. I should pop up everywhere. I am most active on LinkedIn, and I am uploading regularly on YouTube. So those are the two places you can find me. But for everything else, uxplaybook.org.
Fantastic. Chris, this has been really fun. I really appreciate your energy and positive vibe that you're bringing to everything you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Adam. Thank you.
If today's conversation got you thinking about your own growth as a creative leader, then my program, Supercharged Creative Leaders, might well be the next step for you. It's a 4-week cohort designed to help those in leadership positions and those aspiring to be in leadership positions to lead at a world-class level. You'll learn how to communicate with impact, grow your confidence, and lead teams that thrive, all without losing your creativity. It's a mix of pre-recorded video sessions, live Q&As with me and the rest of your cohort, and an incredible community of peers who will support you along the way. People who've already been through the course have gone on to win new roles, land promotions, get huge multi-million-dollar pitches, and they all put it down to the course and the confidence it gave them. So if you're ready to get noticed, get promoted, or finally step into that dream role, join the next cohort. Head to growwithadamjennings.com and sign up to Supercharged Creative Leaders. I can't wait to start working with you. Awaiting Approval is a Cordial Fox production, hosted by Adam Jennings, produced by Adam Jennings and Jasmine Egner.